everybody, and welcome to our Fireside chat on Wild Earth Safari. Myself and Tara. Hello.
Hello.
How was your drive?
It was a bit slow. There
Oh.
wasn't too much out and about this afternoon.
Okay.
It was nice.
Probably just the weather.
Yeah, I think so.
A
Hey.
serious drop in pressure. It must be a low pressure system. It's cooled down. You're sitting in a jacket.
I honestly went very cold towards the end of drive. As soon as that sun dipped,
I did that as well yesterday.
I forgot to take my jacket. So I'm sitting there doing it.
Been there, done that one. Welcome to our Wild Earth camp this evening, and welcome to our Fireside chat. We're going to be talking about a few things, some of the things that we've seen over the last week or two, since we haven't had a Fireside chat for a while. It's been very, very wet, and it's been so wet that I've been battling for, I guess it's going on 2.5, nearly 3 hours to get a fire going, using all sorts of propellants and fire starters and petrol and grasses and old brooms and this wood just won't burn.
You didn't use a feather duster, did you?
No, I didn't use a feather duster. That would smell too much.
Yeah.
Yes, our wet wood. So, anyways, we've had a very, very interesting time the last few weeks. The last couple of weeks, we went for such a dry spell with all of that rain that we had. It was wet every day. It was cold and grey, and I'm starting to sound like I'm a poet. But it just wasn't really conducive to game viewing. When we had all of that wet consistently over time, and the animals tend to stick to thicker bush. They don't tend to move around as much, and we were all getting a little bit worried about what we were going to do about content and about bringing you some of the sights and sounds and wonders of Africa. And we didn't have to worry too much because you came to the rescue.
Me?
Yes, you found
what did I do?
You found the lions and they made that kill.
Yes. Well, to be fair, they were literally just on our doorstep. I think they knew. They
knew that we were wigging out for something, for content.
I literally drove out and as we just got outside, there was a lion sitting on the termite mound, and at 5:30 in the morning, you're kind of still a little bit. Well, it was actually about 5:15. You're still a little bit what's going on in the world, and I'm going.
Not sure if you're dreamland or not.
There's a lion. Is that a lion? And he's going. Yeah, I think it is a lion. So we're shouting down to Craig. Craig, go live now. We've got a lion. We were that excited. So yeah, it was so much fun to find them like that.
I know that excitement because you want to go live as soon as possible, just in case it's a mirage and it disappears, and you want other people to see it, just to make sure that it's there and it's on film and everybody gets to see it. I've had that a few times, but I've also had those moments. Go live, and then the leopard disappears or something.
Exactly. Remember the serval?
Oh yeah,
the serval
gosh,
was the
that
best,
serval,
yeah.
the one and only time where we've had a chance to see a serval. And
we were both on drive, eh?
We were, and guess who was on camera?
And I'm going, Patrick, go live! And I must have shouted maybe just a little bit too loud.
Maybe.
Serval went, gone.
Well, I think it was just our presence. It was a very shy cat,
yeah,
the serval,
exactly.
And it was just that moment of. I'm hoping that when they start cutting the grass on quarantine again, that we might see something, because I'm quite sure that a serval has returned. Haven't you noticed that you don't see the guinea fowl anymore?
I saw one on drive and I was thinking, why are you on your own?
Do you know what I saw? I saw a couple of days ago. I found them way up near Impala Plains, running through the long grasses with lilies.
Okay.
And I think because they got lilies, they're not out in the open. They're in the long grasses, and they're keeping them hidden and growing them up for the eagles and the serval and the leopard and anybody else who wants to catch a guinea fowl. But yes, the guinea fowl have babies, and one of the most remarkable things about guinea fowl babies is even though they're tiny like this, they can still fly, almost like the francolins. They're one of these birds that are precocious. A term that we use for birds that can run around after birth like a chicken or a duck, instead of the altricial. Yes, thank you. The altricial birds like the sparrows and the doves that are born in a nest in a tree, and they've got that protection, so they don't need to run around. They're still pink and blind and featherless. But I think that's where our guinea fowl are at the moment. We haven't heard them and seen them much. I did hear them one day on the western edge of quarantine.
Okay.
I was convinced there was a leopard there that one day because they were going crazy.
Actually, I do remember seeing them about a week ago, and we had hyenas. They were calling. So I left one hyena on the western side of quarantine and went round and there was probably only about 4 or 5 of them. They were all chattering away, and I'm going, oh, there must be something there, and there was about 3 hyena, I think, there.
Yeah.
So that was the last time I actually saw a whole group of them.
So they're conspicuous by their absence, I think is an apt term for that.
Mm.
But getting back to the lion, I think we've had probably one of the best lion sightings we've had since I've been here. I had lion mating when I first arrived. I think it was up on Buffelshoek, funnily enough. I was given permission to go up to Buffelshoek just after Wonky died. And we found a male, one of the Manuleti males, mating with a female up there. I don't know who it was.
Mm.
There was a time after that I saw them mating, I think these Kajimas, mating with Snaggletooth, and we don't know what happened to her and whatever happened to that mating, but it was pale in comparison to this sequence that we had, because we were so lucky to have the whole thing for 4 days, and I'm calculating it was about 4 days.
I think it was 4 days, I think you're right.
And some of the most incredible lion stuff that we've been able to capture here on Wild Earth.
I think so. I mean, I must admit, I really enjoyed just being able to go back and actually following the story with them.
Yes,
Really
that was the greatest part of it.
Definitely. I mean, we actually saw it on the first day that we found them.
Yeah.
The fact that the males were still doing the phlegm and grimace, testing the urine, and they weren't really getting that close. And it was only a couple of days later that they had the buffalo kill, and you saw them mating probably for the first
we
time.
heard them that night of the buffalo kill. Malusi and I went back there just after they made that kill, after Tara, and you all saw Tara. Tara. After you all saw with Tara when you managed to see that kill on live, and I went back there late that night and got stuck with them.
Yes, you did.
But it wasn't stuck like the wheels were spinning in mud or something. It was stuck like leaving the lights on for too long, watching the lions eating the buffalo and running the battery down. And this huge storm coming in. I don't know if any of you remember, but that was the night. We must have had probably a couple of inches of rain that fell. And Malusi and I, was full moon. Malusi and I were sitting with the lion, and I had this little old Sony camera that we used to use, that I've used for Remarkable Creatures before. And I still got to try and edit that and put it into a little sequence for you all. But I was filming them eating the leftovers of the buffalo kill. One of the really incredible things about that was one of the big males was feeding on the carcass, and one of those littlies, one of the cubs came along, and he didn't mind at all. And I've so often found this with male lion, that sometimes they won't let any of the lionesses feed, or the older cubs, but they'll let the little ones come in, because I suppose they know it's going to nibble, they're not going to feed very much. And while that was happening, we could hear in the background, we could hear the mating noises going on, and that was a lot more intense to the mating that we saw later on. I think she's an older lioness, although I did manage to see her nose. It was a little bit pink.
Have a bit of pink.
So I'm putting her at about 5 or 6.
I think that's what I put her at as well.
And I don't know, I think she's used to the process after a few days, so there wasn't that much growling and spitting and fighting and scratching after the deed, after copulation. But we're hoping that she conceived, and we're hoping that we're going to get another few littlies coming into the Kahuma Pride, and hopefully this is going to establish a bigger base of lion pride in this northern sector of the Sabi Sand. I mean, we need it. Excuse me, sorry, something in my eye. Sandy Patch Pride disappeared. The sticks have dispersed and split up, and I don't even know where they are nowadays. And the only lion pride that we have that are likely to maybe use this area are the Kajimas and the Kahumas. And I managed to create a new name for them called the Kajumas. Well, there's the Kahumas and the Kajimas. Yeah, it's like Brangelina. Well, we've got the Kahumas and we've got the Kajimas, and so it just makes sense to call them the Kajumas.
Kajumas. Fair enough. Yeah, but I think the sticks have been down in Malamala from what I've understood.
I believe so. I believe young male has found himself a buffalo kill.
Oh, okay, I hadn't heard that.
I don't know, I think it was a wounded buff or something, but he was, I can't quite remember the feeds that we got from Janet and Pam.
I must admit I haven't read this week's.
Yeah, I haven't read this week's, but yeah, that was last week, where they said that young sticks male was feeding on a buffalo kill.
Well, that's good then.
But I'm hoping maybe they will come back. But at this stage of the game, we are banking on the Kahumas and the Kajimas and the Kajumas. But still, fantastic sighting. And of course, I was lucky enough to have them roaring. And they had one session of mating, and then they moved closer. After roaring a little bit further, they actually came closer, mated, and then roared right in front of the vehicle. And we could hear the rest of the pride roaring just across Biffles of cut line. And I'm hoping that some of you out there and managed to feel some of that power and some of that I can't think of words to describe it.
It is. It's magic. There is something that moves inside you, definitely.
Different to the rumbles of an elephant. Rumbles of an elephant, when you feel that going through your body, and I believe women feel it more than men. I don't know why that is, but why go there?
Yeah, get back on track.
But I mean, that's why Katie Payne discovered. That's how she discovered elephant talking, because she was in a zoo and she heard it or felt it more than heard it. And none of the male keepers, no man had ever heard or felt this rumbling before. And so women are more susceptible to the rumblings of elephant. But it is a different sound. When elephant are rumbling, it is a completely different sound that instills a different passion or a different emotion. When lion are roaring, you know, I've often said on drive that I don't really believe lion are the king of the jungle, because they're limited to a territory. They'll run away from a bunch of things. They're not really the overall king. The elephant is king because he doesn't have a territory. He moves wherever he wants. But the one thing that makes the lion the king is that roar. And on a still night like this, if they were to roar, even now it's not that great. I think you've got to have it in midwinter, when the bush is dry, when it is cold, and that sound travels, the air reverberates. I think if you had to have a candle burning, you'd see the flame flicker. From that roar.
On me already. And maybe it's just a different frequency. Maybe that's what it just resonates.
Well, yes,
things
I think
inside
so.
of you.
I think maybe that's what it is. It all boils down to frequency. I mean, it's like whale calls and stuff. And yes, and it's how that frequency affects us, or what it instills in us. It either instills extreme spiritual oneness, like with an elephant, or awe and excitement, as in with lions. But that wasn't the end of excitement, because I know I'm just going to branch off quickly, and because my excitement continued finding those cheetah and then following them, and we missed the kill because, well, for whatever reason it was, we missed the kill because they ran off into thicker bush. And the youngster, believe it or not, it was the youngster that made the kill, and Mom came along, and they were actually sitting apart from the kill, and I think there's even a couple of moments where I'm saying, I don't believe there's a kill here, because the youngster got up and walked back towards Mom and there was nothing. And then suddenly, after a minute or two, it turned around and it sort of went into some long grass and picked up this baby impala and pulled it into the shade, and the two of them fed quite heartily on this young impala. But I'm kicking myself. I'm cross with myself. I'm upset with myself, because I was going on and on and on about vultures stacking, and about the vultures coming in, and we were facing the vultures, and I turned around to look to see where the cheetah were, and I wasn't even looking at them. I just saw them under a guarri bush, and I was still looking at vultures and talking about vultures and saying goodbye to all of you through the camera. And meanwhile, Catherine was on camera after I said goodbye, she panned back to the cheetah, zoomed in, and at that last moment before it cut away, that young cheetah picked up a second kill that it had made. And if you go back a little bit, you actually hear me from when we were with the vultures. I was saying they're going after more impala, and then we go towards them and say, I don't think they made a kill, they're sitting in the shade. But it did exactly the same thing that it had done before. That it killed something, and it had left it at one side and moved to the side, waited for Mom to rejoin it, and then after a minute or two picked up the carcass. And it was only after reviewing footage, when we got back into final control, that I realized that they had made that second kill, and that was quite incredible. I do recall saying during my monologue about the cheetah, that youngster the first one that they had killed, wouldn't have maybe fed them enough for the day. They would have needed more, and I thought that they would kill maybe later that afternoon. I didn't really expect them to kill so soon.
That is amazing that they actually did. I mean, especially if they were successful with that one.
Well, it was a lamb. I mean, it was a baby, and I've often seen cheetah kills. I've had cheetahs killing right next to my vehicle. I've had them killing even lambs before, and leaving a lot of the carcass. I couldn't believe they finished that thing off, that it was only legs that were left. But even beyond that, I couldn't believe how many vultures came down for 4 little legs and the piece of the head. Of course, the vultures don't know that. When they're flying in, they're not seeing the carcass. They're seeing other vultures landing. They think, oh, party time. And they all dive in there and they sort of arrive on the scene to find 4 impala lamb legs that aren't going to feed an ant. And there's 50 vultures that want to fight for scraps. But it was just a fantastic sequence of events that we saw the kill. Well, we didn't see the kill, but we saw the cheetah. They made the kill. We saw them feeding. The vultures came in. And that in itself is a very unusual thing, to see that sequence in such a short period of time. Because often we've seen buffalo kills, or lion killing buffalo, and it takes several days for that whole thing to play itself